All right, all right. What is up, Honey Badger Nation, man? Thank you guys tuning in to another episode of Expert Mentors Live. Expert Mentors 281 is just absolutely bananas to think about this. Caleb, we're wrapping up our 7th year of doing the Expert Mentor series, and so April we'll wrap 7, and then we'll kind of that second quarter of this year started heading into the 8th year of these expert mentor conversations. And I was kind of looking back. I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of amazing, individuals over the last, really on the coaching side of things, the last 13, 14 years. And I've had a lot of great clients become great friends, but, very few do I get to see just kind of really grow up, right? Like really kind of grow up in the industry, life before family, life before, kids. I mean,
yeah, you caught me as a kid.
Caught you guys at, yeah. I mean, the whole crew, right? And so, I was looking back, this past June was 10 years. So we started working together in June of 2014. So just think back, your growth and just how much has happened over the last decade. And it's the whole thing, right? Like we try to, do so much or don't feel like we get anything done, in a 12-month period, but you look back over the course of a decade and how much your life has completely changed and the life of the people around you. So I'm excited for you, brother, to be able to jump in here with us with the Expert Mentors community. And really the whole thing with this expert mentor conversation really came from Kyle Whissel and Dan Beer. And they said, hey, we need to have a meeting. We said, okay, right. This is back in 2018. And we came over in 2017 to EXP. And of course, shortly, after coming in, you've got the Kyle Whissel and Mr. Dan Beer. And they're saying, hey, we need to create a weekly conversation, a weekly training to pull out these honey badgers, because we've got some amazing rock stars that just want to give back, that just want to pour into the community. And that's really where Expert Mentors came from. Kinder was on the call and he said, well, here, the downside for me, which has been a blessing, I was not on that call. And Kinder, just kind of draw straws. And he's like, okay, well, basically we need somebody consistent. There's nobody.
This is your job.
He's like, John's in. So I didn't even have a vote, but I very, very gracious and just the 280, now 281 conversations that I've been able to have with some of the most amazing, humans, but just absolute rock stars in this industry and part of the Honey Badger Nation. And, today's no different. So welcome, brother. I'm glad you carved out the time, jump in here with us and join the conversation.
Yeah. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, bud, man. So take us back, man. We got into each other's world back, like I said, in, June of 2014, completely, you were a completely different human, completely different life. I mean, like you said, kid. And I remember, getting you to the very first mastermind. And I kind of told Kinder and Reese, I was like, I said, most of these people in this room, they ain't ready for this, because you were doing how you had carved out the business, all the things that they knew they should be doing, but they weren't doing it. You guys were, and you were doing it in a very regimented way. And I think it was a lot to say with, the college background, sports background. And it's almost like you never stopped. You just kind of carried that over. And I would love for you to just kind of share, getting into real estate and how you guys attacked the business early on.
Yeah. So I guess it was about 10 years ago. I had come into real estate under a lady that was at Keller Williams that had been through the Tom Ferry, Mike Ferry coaching, great mentor for about a year or two. She really got me started. And then my cousin, Justin, who still is with me 13 years later from getting into real estate. He was like, I think we can do this. Let's go off on our own. We can figure this thing out. And, man, when we first got involved in this, it was like an Instagram ad of Jay and Mike on a boat. And then we ended up clicking, we'll buy that event, and we end up in Dallas, and then we buy the coaching. And then you and I start hopping on a call every week. We were literally buying our furniture from Goodwill. Me and my brother and my cousin lived in a 2-bedroom apartment, the three of us, and a dog that was just a drinking weekend decision that we had in the house. I mean, we were kids, but we worked hard. Yeah. And then we got busy enough to where we were we had a bunch of business going, and you got us set up to where we hired a buyer's agent and then a listing coordinator and then a closing coordinator and then more buyer's agents. But we weren't from Charleston, so we didn't have a sphere of influence to lean on. So we had to go find it. And we hammered expired FSBOs and canceled listings, and we really built our initial 7 years of client base off of just that almost.
You know, what really just impressed me, and that's one thing I remember early on in the Expert Mentor series when Tina Call came over to EXP. I had Tina on, her and her husband, and she's the best. And you know, one of the things that's really stood out with me, right? You know, because they were in Michigan and moved, you know, into the Carolinas. And she said, you know, the one thing in this business, the one skill that will travel, it'll travel geographical, it'll travel different market conditions. It travels whatever real opportunity is happening in the market at the time, is the skill set to be able to pick up the phone and have a conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was one of the things, and that's what I was kind of alluding to getting into the room of mastermind. And I was saying, you know, these guys, they're not ready because they're not doing what is required and what you guys were doing. But what I loved so much is that just the consistency and the cadence in which you guys prepared yourselves every day, right?
Yeah.
Like I mean, you're still young kids, right? No other obligations. So, hey, we're going to go work out together. Hey, we're going to get ready. We're going to role play. We're going to hit the phones, and we're doing this together. It was kind of like the team. So you took that basketball athletic background and just carried it right into what you were doing into business. That was one of the things I was like, man, he just never stopped. We
didn't know any different either. We were pretty naive, which worked out in our favor. I mean, you gave me the Morning Miracle book. I read it. I was like, okay, wake up, go to the gym, 5 a.m., get my sweat in. And then we were getting to the office at 7, and we required everybody to get there at 7, which is it's an almost unreasonable ask now that I look back on it, that people had children and families. So they would get there at 7, and then we would do sales training from 7 to 7:30. And then we were calling some of the expireds and cancels at 7:30 in the morning. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we were making some people mad, but I mean, a lot of people loved it.
Yeah. You guys were really you were out hustling your work ethic until the talent level caught up with it. You guys just outworked everybody.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we weren't honestly we weren't even that talented at the time, but you go through enough banging your head against the wall, you get pretty good at it. Yeah. And then you remember Brandon Bott's still on the team, and he sat back when we first ISAs were just starting to be a thing, and Brandon sat there and called for like 7 years, and now he's doing almost $20 million a year.
Yeah, it's just wild, man. You build that skill set. That's one of the skill sets that just you never lose it, right? It just carries so many, you know, like I said, time frame, season of the markets, geographical location. You can go anywhere. I mean, you're in a great spot. There's no reason to go anywhere than where you are, but like you could, you know, move, like Tina's example, right? And so I just really, you know, just a shining example of, okay, hey, simplicity, but do it this way, do it the right way, and just work the system and work it. There was another really pivotal point, and I use your story a lot in conversation and just helping give people context about, you know, attacking the day the right way, being able to structure it, doing things simple but consistent as a unit, as a group. But one of the things, man, and this is why I say, and you've done one of the best jobs within the real estate space that I've ever really seen. And I've got a couple other great examples, but you really you had that aha moment, and I'll never forget, man. You hit me up, you showed me, you sent me everything. You're like, listen, dude, I just closed this deal. I have to go sell 5 listings to equal this one transaction. And I think that was just for you, just where it unlocked all of the investment side of things and really just changed the course of your life in just that moment. And I would love for you to just kind of unpack, you know, before you were just attacking, selling houses, like you said, on the hamster wheel.
Yeah. It's crazy that you remember, dude, it's crazy you remember that story. because I tell everybody that story. And I told the guy that actually sold the deal to the story maybe like 6 months ago, and he didn't have any idea he had any influence on me like that. So we were calling all the cancels and expireds. And then I called this guy one day, and he goes, me and my sister inherited this house. It didn't sell with this agent. I just want an offer. And I knew one person in town that flipped homes, one. And I called him, and it was listed at 200. And I said, well, what can you pay for it? And he was like, 100. And I'm thinking, no way in hell this guy takes this offer. So I call him back, and I'm like, hey, I got this guy. He'll pay 100. You want 200? And the guy's like, well, just write it up and send it to me. We'll take that. So he turns around and probably makes $100,000 on it. And I made $3,000 in commission. And I was like, wait. I'm sitting on the wrong side of this table. I was the one that found the lead. I can probably find enough people where I could scrape together $100,000 or $150,000, do the project. So we made him a bunch of money, but I learned a valuable lesson. I learned that there's a lot of money in investing in real estate. And then we started fixing and flipping a bunch of homes. And I did the same thing with the fix and flip model. Was, all right, I built my real estate team. Now, how do we build a fix and flip team the same way? Go find the best mentors. Go find a mastermind of high-level individuals that are doing it at volume and at scale. So we joined a mastermind, got that going. And then I started seeing, okay, all these guys have big businesses, but who has the best lifestyles? And it was the multifamily guys and the mobile home park owners. So we started picking up investments as that goes. And I mean, here we are.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And you just kind of gave the blueprint right there. And I think that's kind of where we could really pour in from, the expert mentor conversation here about kind of how you went about it, right? So you had seen the success inside of the real estate company, right? It was like, okay, hey, we're looking for a better way. Hey, there's this event, right? Let's go check that out. Oh, they've got, some coaching, go that route, get into a mastermind, go that route. So, that worked. Let's try that. Right. So that's just a great example. It's like, hey, we've got to build the team. Then we need to find who the mentors are. And then where's the group? And then I love that distinction, right? It's not just like, hey, crushing and flipping a bunch of, rooftops, doors and houses and families. It's who has the lifestyle to go with it. What was that for you? That was so important. Why was that so important?
I mean, that came as I got a little bit older and a little bit more mature. You start losing a little bit of steam. I mean, I had all the energy in the world, and then you're like, God, I am just burning it at all ends. So what are those guys doing differently? Because they're not always on the phone. They're going out to dinner, and you don't see them checking their phone the whole time or stepping outside and taking calls. You definitely don't see them with 2 cell phones like I had at one time. So it was – then I just – sat next to them at dinner and started asking them questions, and they let me fly to their offices and shadow what they do and how they do it, and showed me all the numbers. And I mean, once you see the numbers, it all makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. And, you had that moment, and you had to catch yourself on the wrong side of the table, which, most agents just kind of problem aware or not problem aware. And then you became aware. What do you see though? Why even if some agents have the realization, is like, dude, I just made you, 100,000, I made 3, yet they still don't do anything about it. What stops real estate agents from really moving forward with, the investment in financial opportunity that this profession has?
Yeah, that's a good question. Probably access to capital, and how much access they think they may have to capital. Risk tolerance, I guess. I mean, there's definitely more risk when you're flipping homes, risk legally. I don't know, but I mean,
I think it's a lot of just maybe just doubt that they can't do anything with it. Kyle gave a really good piece of advice right here on Expert Mentors a couple of years ago. And he said, listen, if you got the deal, the money's there.
100%. 100%. And you can put it in places where, like, you can put it on Craigslist, which most people don't even go to Craigslist. But if you put a good enough deal on Craigslist, somebody will find it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was just a good shift. And I think that's just where a lot of agents, they're just not thinking, right? They're thinking about the next deal. They're thinking about the next conversation, their next appointment, instead of looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you got real estate agents selling homes and then us flipping homes. That's two active incomes. Like those are active income. But what happens is you've got your that's fast money in my opinion. So like, let's make money every month, flip homes. Where do we go get the next one? Let's sell a house, sell another one. Where do we go? It's a hamster wheel every month. But what happens is when you build your income to a certain level, some of these guys need to be buying and holding the real estate. Now, Jay and them are getting into that here recently because they've seen the light with what holding real estate does tax-wise. Because if you have enough active fast income, you need to offset it some way, or you're just going to give it to Uncle Sam. So the last thing that I've learned probably in the last 5 years is buying assets to offset the active income from those businesses. On top of owning something that pays you every month from a cash flow perspective. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. And so let's kind of give the blueprint of, hey, if you're just an agent heading into 25, this is something that's been on your mind. Like give kind of the, paint by numbers, just kind of, hey, if you're here, focus on this. Then this, kind of what would be the progression? Say, hey, I'm an agent, I'm on my own, I'm hustling, I'm doing, 2 to 3 deals a month. I'm popping up some investment opportunities. I have investors. What would you say, great, you're in the right mindset, do this?
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're making over 200 grand a year in GCI and gross commissions, I think you could easily, if you're smart about it, pick up one rental a year. And that one rental a year can help you. If we won't get into the whole tax side of it, but do a cost segregation study on the rental that you buy and hold. And then that'll probably, depending on the price point of the house that you buy, save you anywhere from 40 to call it $40,000, or it might wipe your entire taxable income for the year. So then you're building your wealth. You've got something that pays you every month. But if they do one a year for a while, it's kind of like a snowball going downhill.
Yeah.
You start buying one, then the next year you might buy 2. Then you've got enough income coming in, you might buy 3. Then year 4, and then all of a sudden you look up and you own a couple hundred doors.
Yeah. So start small, start with one. Obviously, find a mentor, find somebody that can kind of keep you on the right path. Is it a good deal? Is it not a good deal?
Yeah. Find a partner. That's what I did. Well, especially I wasn't scared to take on a single family house and keep it as a rental, but I was a little scared taking on a 15-unit apartment complex, which was my biggest deal when I first started. So I got a partner that he owned a couple hundred units, or he probably owned 1,500 units, which is a pretty big investor. Sure. And I said, hey, I've got this deal. Will you partner on it? And I gave him half of everything, which ended up being a pretty big number. But he taught me so many lessons along the line. So many people get caught up on trying to squeeze every drop out of the lemon, when sometimes if you just share it, you get a lot of growth and a lot of knowledge from it. And then at some point you can just go off and do it on your own.
Dude, I love that. That was kind of our path, right? And so, we started running, home sold guaranteed or we'll buy it, feeding investors. And then, a savvy enough investor said, listen, I have a gut feeling that if we partner on these deals, you'll find a lot more deals. Yeah. And, compensation drives behavior. And so that's exactly what happened. And then the progression became, then we were our own investor, right? We didn't need, the partnership. Doesn't mean that you would ever want to, shut it off if you don't have to, but that was just an option. So I agree with your 100%, but to like Kyle's point, to your point, it's got to start in the mind, man. You just gotta know that you're in the business that's finding opportunities. And I tell you, the other two thing for us, Caleb, and maybe it was through our conversations that, it really resonated with you as well, but it was like, listen, you've got to look at, is this an investment opportunity for me? Right? For me, for my family, for my business, for my partners, for whoever's in this entity, Okay, well, it's not something that I want or we want to mess with. Do I have an investor that I can get it to?
Yeah.
And if I don't have an investor I can get it to, then let's bring it to market. That when we made that shift, instead of going market first, we went us first, our investors, our other partners second, market third. That was the shift.
That's a really good point. Really good point.
Yeah. And was it just you sitting at the table knowing, hey man, like no more, like I'm not going to put a bunch of money in other people's pockets unless I can, get a bigger piece of the pie myself.
I mean, I was just like, damn, seemed easy. And I was the one that generated it. Really the money is made on the buy.
Right.
So the value is who can find the deal at a discount. You really make the majority of your money in the purchase.
Right.
Which is what we were, but to make $3,000 on it and watch them make 100, it stung a little bit. Now it said never again.
Never again. So, here you are, over a decade in, just definitely talking about the different type of incomes. What causes you to keep the real estate company instead of just focusing on the investment side?
That's a good point. So we've got the real estate team does okay. I mean, we do we'll do around $75 million, and we only have 4 people that are truly selling. We have a team of 15 people that work across all of our companies, but it provides them a good lifestyle. It pays for some of our employees that work for our retail brokerage team help me in my other businesses. So it helps pay for that. The retail brokerage team is not super profitable, but it brings a lot of brand recognition and brings a lot of market recognition. So it's hard to put a price tag on everybody in town knowing me as the investor agent. So people are bringing me deals that come from the team and come into the team. So, I mean, does that answer your question? It's just
a little bit too. I think it also keeps the stigma off of you that you're just an investor. And I think, because I kind of default to people that were, in our market that we worked with that were just investors. And it was like, but I think with you, you're still in you're boots on ground. You're dealing with the consumer. You know what the consumer wants. You know what buyers want. You know what sellers want. So you do kind of have a competitive advantage as an investor.
Oh, big time.
Buyers and sellers.
Big time. And you see the changes in the market. You just have a better pulse because we carry 20 to 30 listings at a time. So I can see what price points are moving, how much activity they're getting, what are buyers starting to beat you up on price, beat you up on closing costs, beat you up on repairs, where's the market turning, what neighborhoods do you stay away from? So I get a lot of extremely valuable insight into the market from the retail team running.
You're on the front lines, man. You're knee to knee. So you know what's really happening. Whereas the investors kind of, not as plugged in, and that's why they need great agents. That's why investors need great agents to be that ear to the consumer, ear to the ground, to be able to give them that perspective. But
yeah. Well, John, I'll give you an example. I met with a lady a few years ago, and this was one of those aha moments, and it clicked as well. So we can buy your house cash now. Well, if you want to take the house and turn it upside down and shake every penny out of it, you need to list it. So we offer that option. Or we can come in and make this super simple. We can pay cash, buy it as is. You pick the closing date. Anything back here that you want to leave behind, you can leave behind. But with that comes a concession in price. So we'll offer you both options. And I offered a lady, the house was not even in that bad a shape. I think we bought it on the open market. It would have sold for maybe $215. Somewhere around there. Then I offered her $165 cash. So here are your 2 options. She goes, oh, I'll take that one. She didn't even really have that much distress or issues. She just wanted convenience. And we were not taking advantage of her. We gave her both options and she picked it.
Yeah.
So I think the more options that you can give a consumer, the better.
Yeah. I think what really worked well for us that saved a lot of, especially, now, even the accessibility with reviews and testimonials and more transparency is one of the things that, and I slept better at night when we broke down the numbers for them and where our offer was coming from. And, hey, this is cost to buy, this is cost to hold, this is cost to rehab, this is cost to sell. And, by the way, we are taking the position as an investor. So here's our profit. We're not trying to knock a home run, but this is our profit.
Sure.
And we would present it. So that made me feel better. The other side of the thing is that you better be careful with what you say, because in that situation, they might just say, okay, I'll take that. So you better be careful with the number that you throw out there.
Yeah. But I mean, we just put it in a calculator and say, here's your list option. This is what you net. Here's your cash offer. The cash offer is what you walk away with. Yeah. But you pick the closing date. You leave it all behind. It's as is. We're not beating you up on repairs. We don't have strangers coming through the house looking at your house. You don't have to wait and hope that the contract goes through. So it is simpler, but like this lady, it was a $40,000 concession that she was willing to give just for convenience.
Are you seeing more and more of that, or is it kind of the same, or has it died off a little bit? Like where's the pulse of the market with people that are wanting that convenience and willing to take that investment number?
On the stuff that needs a lot of work, there's still a lot of demand for it. So we're still buying plenty of houses. We buy between 5 and 10 a month.
Gotcha.
Good month is 10. Bad month will be, call it 4.
So working your way to that point, right? So let's talk. I mean, really been over the last 10 years, you've built to that. So I think anybody listening in, right? Like don't jump to Caleb's chapter, right? So that's why I wanted you to, hey, kind of paint by numbers. What's chapter 1 for a lot of people? And I got to go through the chapters to get to where you're at. And so, as it builds to that point, but let's say somebody is thinking about, ramping it up a little bit. What would you say? Hey, you got to have, let me help you from, lessons learned. If you're trying to get to that 5 to 10, these are the things that you got to make sure you have in place.
Yeah. So like ratchet up your marketing as it goes. So start with like $1,000 a month in direct mail. And then once you can track it and prove, if I send 1,000 pieces out, I get this many calls, I get this many contracts, then ramp it up a little bit. And then at some point, you're going to need to hire someone to run the appointments. And then at some point, you're going to need to hire someone to run the construction. And then you're going to need another closing coordinator to handle all of the pending transactions. But don't drop $25,000 in marketing the first month when you couldn't handle that many purchases in the first place. So just ratchet it up.
Yeah. Baby steps, work your way.
And track it. God, just track everything.
What would you say? I hear you say track everything, but like, man, if I'm only going to track a handful of numbers, what am I tracking?
So call responses. And what we found is it used to be 1%. Now it's about 0.5%. So if we send out 1,000 pieces, what is that? That's 5 phone calls.
Yeah.
5 phone calls that come in, and then track what your conversion rate out of those 5 is. Usually about 20% of the people that actually call in actually are motivated. The other 80% are telling you to shove it. Don't stop sending me mail.
Yeah.
They're upset, but 20% of that wants you to buy their house or are seriously interested in selling their home. And then track your closing percentage.
Gotcha.
And then track your average profit per deal.
That's big, right? We've got gentleman who he is. He's in Norman, Oklahoma, running kind of a strongest cash offer guarantee. I mean, it's expensive. We know he's doing a lot of, ad spend, and it's transitioned a lot. He's been doing about a year. So we're starting to pick up some organic stuff, but he knows his cost per lead. He knows his cost, his acquisition. He knows his deal. So he knows his profit percentage. So he can afford to spend, $1,000, $1,500 per lead because he knows his numbers. And I think that would scare a lot of people, hearing that, like $1,500 a lead. He's doing it all day long because he knows his numbers and he knows the math works. Yeah.
I mean, I think last year, our average cost per deal was like $7,700 a deal.
Yeah.
Which is not, that's not cheap. Like it's not a cheap sport to play in.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to your whole point, build up to it.
100%.
The point. So Caleb, obviously, a lot of changes here recently. I mean, obviously coming into the new year, for you guys making a transition, like you said, came in KW, you've been at Remax as long as I've known you, for over a decade. You've been at Remax, and then all of a sudden kind of shifting gears and making a change. What was it for you guys? Was it just time to shake things up? Like what was it to, hey, it's time to make a move. It's time to change things up.
Yeah. So you guys went over there how many years ago? 8?
17. Yeah, in 2017.
So, okay. So you guys went over there, and I kind of watched you guys from the sideline. And I had a few years left in my Remax franchise, and then I sold my Remax franchise, but I didn't want to sell it to the guy and just bail on him.
Right.
I would have gone if I wasn't in that situation. I would have gone straight over there with you guys 8 years ago, and 9 years ago, and I would have been a lot happier, or not a lot happier, but I'd have a lot more residual income coming in. That's for sure. So then it came up to where his franchise was about to change, and so I wasn't leaving him holding the bag because my team was producing most of the volume in the franchise.
It would have hurt him. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have hurt him. So stayed there, helped that ride out. But it was more to get the band back together with you guys and just be in a mastermind feel again, because y'all have a lot of some of the best agents in the country in your group. Yeah. I mean, we could have gone anywhere, and it wasn't about the splits to us, but being in y'all's group and around people that are doing big things and that are like staying state of the art and have the best technology and know what the best new lead capture tools are. Like, I haven't had that for probably 7 or 8 years since we got out of the mastermind with you guys, and we've missed that. So I think that's the biggest thing, is more of like the community that we're coming into with EXP more than the brokerage itself.
That's such a great point. And, you know, Jay and Al and I were talking about it yesterday, and a lot of people making moves. And I think, you know, as you were kind of going through there, I think there's a lot of leadership, lack of leadership, or, you know, you kind of get out on an island. And I think that's, you know, originally for us, you know, in the NAEA mastermind days, we were the safe haven for, you know, typically for independents, for people that were really kind of out on an island, and they were looking for a place in a community. And really, we were very fortunate enough to be able to transition, you know, the NAEA mastermind days into EXP. And, you know, a lot of the early, you know, folks that jumped on board with us were from that mold. And then they knew the people. And then, you know, you get the Veronica Figueroas, you get the Tina Calls, you get the Mark Z's, the Kurt Shewells, the Kyle Whistles, the, you know, the Dan Beer, the Curtis Johnson, Chuck Fazios, right? And it just cascades. And you're right. You look at, even, you know, people can say whatever they want to say with the evolution of the model, right? You've been Remax, so you know that model very well. You know the legacy. That's, to me, legacy model. Will it serve a purpose? It may sunset at some point, but the evolution, though, is definitely these platforms that give, like you said, because you were already talking about it, multiple streams of income. You're like, I can go get a $3,000 commission check, maybe charge a transaction fee, maybe I can get some commission dollars off of agents, or I can get this other revenue stream off of investments, or, oh wow, I can get some stock in a company. You need a Remax company.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, man, we can do the exact same thing that we were doing previously.
Yeah.
But if I would have done it over the last 10 years, there's no telling how many people that would have come in and come over. And y'all's group is just full of badasses. I mean, some of the best agents in the country are in y'all's group. So that makes a big difference. And then to have like even just the tech is really good now that I've started to dive into it. And this isn't a EXP sales pitch.
No, but it is. It's the things that, you know, just on the other side of the fence, especially for so long, being able to come in and be like, oh, wow. Okay. And I think that's an interesting point, right? You know, I think at this point, everybody's obviously heard of EXP, but really, what is it? And that's one of my favorite questions when they say, you know, understand the model and aligning with us what that is. And then they think they know, but then start to articulate it. What is it? Really, what is, you know, that? But there is so much. What are you excited about? You know, you made the move, really, you know, coming together kind of into a community of, like you said, you know, rock stars, badasses. What are you guys trying to solve for in 25? You made the move, proximity. What are we thinking about? What are you know, the team, what are you guys focused on trying to accomplish in 25?
Yeah, so we've got a bunch of new development projects that are coming down the pipe. So that's going to be a big focus. We've raised our price point substantially. We've changed our branding now. So like moving over to you guys, forced us to change our branding. So we changed the logo and made it a little less about Caleb Pearson, and we just call it CP Team and gave it a whole new, fresh, high-end vibe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just excited about a new chapter. And I really am excited about the stock options are going to be great. Any residual income that we're going to produce, I made a deal with our team that we're going to put it in a pot, and they're going to get a percentage of it in 5 years. So it's a retention tool that we've used it as too. So I think the biggest thing is just new chapter and starting to rub elbows with some of the badasses again on the brokerage side.
I like that fire. So obviously you've seen just so much. I mean, I know where your head is and focused, and, you know, whatever may happen into, you know, 25 and beyond. It was one question, you know, we hear a lot of people, hey, what do you think is going to change? What do you think is going to happen in the market? For you, and maybe just from your leadership capabilities and talking with the team, what are you conveying to them? Hey man, this ain't going to change. This is what is going to stay the same. What's not going to change heading into 25 and beyond, right? The second half of the decade, emergence, you know, the sexiness more so of an ease of AI, and, you know, what's not going to change in your mind moving forward?
I mean, what's not going to change is people are still going to need help buying and selling homes.
Yeah.
But the market may change. And I don't care what the market does. I prefer it to go up because that helps net worth. But we started during the short sale days when things were terrible. Things took forever to sell. Everybody you talked to was upside down in their home. So if we went back to a market like that, we can navigate it. Like nobody's going to outgrind us if we have to. So we'll just have to get to more disciplined days. I'll tell you, we talked before this call. I've worked probably harder in the last 12, 24 months than I did the previous 4 or 5 years. So
what is that? How come?
I mean, we just had the wind at our back for so long when rates were nothing and everybody was just shifting around houses in the same neighborhoods. You're getting double sides and prices were going up. So you're making more money and things are easy and the government's giving out a bunch of money. I mean, life was fun there for a little while for everybody. But now you're seeing that pull back and the wind's a little bit more in our face. And I think I read an article where 70% of the agents in the country didn't sell a house last year.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it?
I don't know how accurate that is, but if that's an accurate number, that's crazy because everybody was getting their license 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Everybody in the
like you said, it was easy, right? It was easy. They didn't have to learn the skills of selling. They didn't have to learn the skill of negotiation. They didn't have to learn how to, you know, have conflict resolution. They didn't have to learn how to market. They didn't have to learn how to lead.
It was easy. You just put a house on the MLS. It didn't even matter what the price was and it sold.
It is. It's absolutely wild.
You didn't need professional pictures. You didn't need marketing. You didn't need anything. Anybody could sell a house 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah. So definitely understanding that. I still believe, you know, to your point, and I think like a lot of agents, you know, were able to just kind of ease their way into, you know, multiple 6-figure, 7-figure, you know, income. And, you know, the challenge there is to kind of, to your point, is being complacent and content and not allowing yourself to get into that. But I'm still a little curious, like it got harder, but you didn't have to push harder. What really relit the fire for you?
I mean, I feel like I pushed harder. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to do this forever, and I still have plenty of energy, so I don't want to take the foot off the gas yet. So I guess some of that, and then lifestyle gets a little bit more expensive, so you start pressing on the gas there.
Kids get older. Kids get older, more expensive.
You start seeing people go to places that you want to go to. I mean, so you start having your ambitions get a little bit bigger. I don't know. I mean, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
When I don't enjoy it anymore is probably when it's time to hang them up, but I'm not to that point yet.
No. Yeah. No. I love it. I love it. So what, man, what are your kind of projections or goals or targets, at least on the investment side, and then kind of balance with the agent side for this year?
Yeah, I mean, our goal for the team, if we do $80 million this year, I'll be happy, which we should, especially with the big investment deals coming down the pipeline. If we flip 60 homes, I'll be happy. I think we'll do more than that this year based on especially this first couple of weeks. And then I don't necessarily know that we'll add a bunch more doors to our portfolio. We haven't been heavily buying the last couple of years just because interest rates have gone up, cap rates have been squeezed, insurances have hammered the commercial space. So I don't know that it's the best time, but I mean, there's good deals to be bought in any market.
Right. Any market.
So we're not like heavy on acquisitions right now. We're not really going out and hunting down deals, but we're picking them off as they come. So
gotcha.
I mean, if we can buy $3 to $5 million worth of deals this year that are good cash flowing deals that we're walking in at a good number, I'm happy.
I love it. And just continuing to grow and improve the team. I think, you look back at what you've been able to accomplish and, coming from a sports background, team first, being able to build a really solid core of just great, individuals. It says a lot. I mean, look at, you've got some guys that have been riding with you for over a decade. That says a lot.
Yeah. I mean, but they've helped us build the brand. They've helped us build all of this. And it's really cool to watch. I mean, you should see Brandon and Justin and Clay, but they have nice houses now. They have beautiful wives. They have children. They have nice cars. Yeah. Like, you just know what they came from.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to watch. My thing with them this year is, can we get them to start building wealth? A few of them have. But if we could start getting them to buy and hold some stuff, that's where the true wealth is made. It's not in flipping homes.
Right.
I don't care what anybody tells you. The true wealth is in buying and sitting on ownership, letting somebody else pay it down over time, getting the tax depreciation and letting it appreciate.
I love it. Well said. And this is definitely where my belief is at. And really just the ultimate reason why you should be in this game in the first place should be for exactly what you just articulated right there. So, brother, love that you're in the circle, a little bit tighter. You're always in the circle, but just a little bit tighter to the crew. Great to have you back. And
I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you. And guys, connect with Caleb. Like I said, he's textbook to the way to go and build and the way to look and really look at your business and run your business from, the skill set to looking for opportunities first, but also leading and building a great team that still wants to be a part of riding with you, 10, 11, 12 years later says a lot. Definitely says a lot.
Cool. Well, hey, bud, I appreciate it. I'm glad to get the band back together.
Yes, sir. Awesome. Cool. We'll see you guys.
See you, bud.
See you.